The shimmering glass atrium of the Whitmore Plaza in downtown Chicago glittered under the summer sun as I stepped through the revolving doors, my low heels tapping lightly against the polished limestone floors. My father's 65th birthday party was exactly the spectacle you'd expect from the Whitmore family. Ostentatious luxury, carefully crafted guest lists, and enough corporate scheming to fuel a primetime drama. I smoothed my emerald silk dress, modest yet costing more than my older brother Ethan's mortgage payment. He'd never understood the difference between timeless elegance and simple extravagance. The lobby concierge Louise gave me a subtle nod as I passed. He was one of the few who knew my real identity, not just as Harper Lane, but as the owner of not only Whitmore Plaza, but a significant slice of Chicago's premium commercial properties. Well, look who finally decided to show up. Ethan's voice floated over the crowd, dripping with casual contempt. The office manager's all dressed up, he added, loud enough for guests to hear. If only he realized that Lane and Partners, my supposed employer, was nothing more than a holding company for Lane Holdings Group, one of the largest private real estate portfolios in the Midwest. While Ethan flaunted his title as Director of Operations at our father's firm, I'd spent the past 8 years quietly purchasing skyscrapers and historic buildings across the city. Somebody's got to handle the paperwork, I replied calmly, accepting a glass of Prosecco from a passing server, a bottle I'd personally imported for the event, not that they'd ever suspect. Don't spill it on your clearance rack dress, Ethan sneered, fiddling with the cufflinks I knew were on loan from Dad's jeweler. This Prosecco probably costs more than your annual car payments, I thought as I took a slow sip, thinking of the penthouse I owned on the top floor of Whitmore Plaza, a place that made Ethan's lakefront condo look like a budget Airbnb. Harper, my stepmother Judith called out, her voice tight and saccharine. Darling, we've set you up at the staff check-in table. You can help direct the event staff. Of course they had. God forbid the so-called disappointment of the Whitmore clan be seen mingling with Chicago's elite. Perfect, I said brightly, savoring the way Judith's face flickered with confusion. She'd been bracing for a fight, or tears, not serene acceptance. My phone buzzed discreetly. A message from my real assistant blinked on the screen. Board meeting locked in for 10 p.m. Team eager to finalize the Hudson Tower deal. Yes, the Hudson Tower deal. My father's company had been trying to acquire Hudson Tower for months. What none of them knew was that Lane Holdings closed the purchase yesterday. Tomorrow, Chicago's real estate world would never be the same. Still clinging to that ancient phone, huh? Ethan observed with mock pity, tilting his head. Guess it's tough to upgrade on your little admin salary. The so-called ancient phone was a custom encrypted device worth more than Ethan's car, but I merely smiled and shrugged. Let them believe whatever they liked. In less than 12 hours, the entire landscape of their world would change forever. Around the soaring atrium, giant digital screens streamed business news updates. Every station buzzed about one headline: the mystery buyer behind the Hudson Tower purchase. The largest real estate deal Chicago had seen in a decade, and nobody could name who was behind it. Such a shame about Hudson Tower, my father's voice boomed as he strolled up, commanding the attention of everyone nearby. Michael Pierce should have taken my offer when he had the chance. He sniffed, swirling his whiskey. Now some unknown upstart thinks they've won. I hid my grin behind my Prosecco glass. Maybe they saw value you overlooked, I said softly. Please. Ethan let out a sharp laugh. What would you know about spotting value in real estate? You can barely afford your tiny rental. If only he knew that I owned the building where he was renting his precious condo, that every check he mailed each month went straight into one of my company's accounts. The party droned on with its predictable rhythms. Ethan held court in the center of the atrium, loudly boasting about business deals he'd only brushed against in meetings. Judith fluttered among social circles, dropping hints about their Lake Geneva cottage, the one teetering on the brink of foreclosure. And my father, Charles Whitmore, loomed large over every conversation, trying desperately to preserve the aura of Chicago's real estate king. They hadn't noticed the quiet tremors shifting beneath their feet, the long-trusted investors who'd slowly backed away. the prime properties disappearing from their portfolios, snatched up by anonymous LLCs. Or how, piece by piece, I'd surrounded the Whitmore empire with my own. Luis, the head of security, approached me precisely then, as if on cue. "There's a matter that requires your personal attention." Ethan waved him off. "She's not important enough for anything serious. Go find a real manager." Luis kept his gaze steady, the faintest smile lifting one corner of his mouth. "My apologies, Mr. Whitmore, but Miss Lane's clearance is explicitly required. The issue concerns the board meeting in her tower." Silence fell, sharp and immediate. Ethan's glass slipped from his fingers, crashing into shards across the limestone floor. Judith's fixed smile faltered, freezing like porcelain. As Judith waited, Emma prayed she didn't regret having stood up, and my father, after all these years, finally looked straight at me. Really looked. "Her tower?" he rasped. I rose slowly, smoothing the silk of my emerald dress. "Thank you, Luis. Please tell the board I'll join them shortly. And have someone clean up that Prosecco, it's too good to waste." The hush that had descended on the atrium finally shattered as Ethan found his voice. This is a joke," he blurted out, though the carefully practiced swagger in his tone cracked at the edges. "You're just an office assistant. You answer phones." "Actually," I said, sweeping my arm toward the gleaming interior of Whitmore Plaza's towering atrium, "I owned this building, and about 40 others around Chicago. The office job was simply a convenient cover." Judith stepped closer, her flawless socialite composure beginning to slip. "Impossible. Whitmore Plaza belongs to Lakeshore Holdings. They acquired it last year." "Yes," I replied with a small smile. "We did. Would you care to see the portfolio?" I nodded to Luis, who immediately began handing out sleek leather-bound folders to the stunned guests. All around us, the giant lobby screens flickered, transitioning from muted news broadcasts to an elegant slideshow detailing Lane Holdings Group's assets across Chicago. "Whitmore Plaza," I narrated calmly as images rotated on the screens, "acquired in 2024. A crisp photo of a sleek high-rise appeared. "The Fulton Market Lofts, purchased last month. The entire Lakeshore East development, which we quietly bought from your company last year, although you believed you were selling to a group of European investors." My father's face blanched to ash. "The Lakeshore East development? But that was our flagship property." "Yes," I said, my voice steady, "and you sold it for 25% below market value because Ethan convinced you the market was tanking." I turned toward my brother, whose jaw was hanging slack. "By the way, those doom and gloom market reports you trusted, my team produced those." Ethan stumbled back a step, grabbing for a marble column to steady himself. No, I would have known." "Would you?" I asked softly. I tapped a command into my phone and the screens switched again, revealing fresh images. "Did you know who bought your condo building last year? Or who acquired the lakefront property next to your so-called private retreat? The one Judith has been angling to get invited to all summer?" Judith's hand shot to her chest, her diamonds glittering in the spotlights. You own the Lake Forest estate?" "And most of that shoreline now," I said, glancing at another message popping onto my phone, "including, as of about an hour ago, your house in Lake Geneva. The bank was eager to accept my offer after reviewing your latest refinancing documents." The atrium had fallen utterly silent. Chicago's elite watched the unfolding scene with thinly veiled awe. My father, once the unquestioned titan of Chicago's real estate scene, suddenly seemed frail and diminished. "How?" he whispered, voice breaking. "Where did you get the resources, the knowledge?" I stepped forward, centering myself beneath the towering lobby lights. "Remember when you said I needed to learn the business from the ground up? And if you're as eager as the Whitmers to discover what happens when secrets finally come to light, make sure you subscribe for the next chapter. Trust me, this story is only getting started." "That's exactly what I did," I said, lifting my chin. While Ethan was busy throwing cocktail parties for developers, I was poring over market data and economic trends. When Judith suggested I take a desk job to understand my place, I used that position to learn every facet of how buildings really operate. The massive lobby screens pulsed with new slides, revealing Lane Holdings Group's true empire, billions in assets, cutting-edge sustainability tech, and a reputation for tenant-first management that had made us the most desired landlord in the city. Every time you dismissed my ideas about sustainable design or community-driven investments, I continued, I put them into practice in my own portfolio. And while you were grooming Ethan for roles he could never handle, I was building something bigger, smarter. My phone buzzed yet again. A new email blinked across the top of the screen. Wall Street Journal requesting comment on Hudson Tower acquisition. Perfect. Your little hobby, Ethan said weakly, his voice barely carrying over the silence. The so-called real estate classes I took at night? I nodded. They were advanced studies in urban development and sustainable architecture, paid for by the profits from my very first purchase, a rundown warehouse on the south side that you told Dad was worthless. The screens shifted again, revealing the once derelict warehouse, now transformed into a thriving mixed-use complex, a local landmark for innovation and green architecture. But the connections, Judith stammered, clutching the diamonds at her throat. The old money families, the relationships. Oh, you mean like the Ashcrofts, the Vanderlees, the same people you've been begging for invitations from for years? I allowed myself a cool smile. They've been my investment partners all along. Turns out, old money is more than willing to embrace new ideas when they're backed by solid returns. My father finally found his voice, a hoarse rasp. The Hudson Tower deal. That was you? All of it, I said, while you were throwing around low-ball offers and hostile takeover threats. I offered a vision for the future. Green buildings, community fee-free redevelopment, and even profit sharing with tenants. Everything you called naive and unbusinesslike. The screens unveiled Lane Holdings Group's redevelopment plan for Hudson Tower, with sleek renderings of rooftop gardens, smart energy systems, and affordable community spaces. Your father built this company from nothing, Judith said, desperately trying to salvage the moment. You can't just come in and... Actually, I interrupted gently, I built something bigger than he ever imagined, without his name, without his connections, without his outdated methods. And I did it all while you thought I was answering phones. The next hour turned my father's birthday party into something entirely new. Chicago's real estate elite began circling me instead of Ethan, their eyes bright with curiosity and respect. Miss Lane, Thomas Calloway, a titan of Chicago development, stepped forward, his earlier arrogance replaced with genuine admiration. I had no idea you were the force behind the Innovation District project. Simply brilliant. The same Innovation District you dismissed when I pitched it 3 years ago, I reminded Thomas Calloway gently, back when I was just the office assistant with crazy ideas. Now, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications rolled in one after another. Developers wanting meetings, investors offering congratulations, media outlets requesting interviews about Lane Holdings Group's sudden emergence. All around us, the towering lobby screens broadcast live updates as the news spread across Chicago's business networks. Mystery real estate mogul revealed. Harper Lane's hidden empire exposed. How one woman is reshaping Chicago's skyline. From admin desk to real estate powerhouse, the Harper Lane story. Ethan, still pale and stunned, snatched one of the leather portfolios from Luis and flipped through it with trembling hands. All these sustainability awards, these tenant satisfaction scores. His voice trailed off. They're yours? Every single one, I confirmed coolly, including the building you've been bragging about, that fancy loft where you keep hosting your networking events. By the way, your rent's due next week. My father slumped into one of the atrium's sleek modern chairs, another one of my personal design upgrades to Whitmore Plaza. He rubbed a hand over his jaw as the screen cycled through aerial footage of Chicago's skyline. The modern developments we've been trying to compete with, he murmured. The community projects that keep winning city contracts. Lane Holdings, I said. While you were focused on luxury condos and upscale retail, I was creating mixed-use neighborhoods that actually serve people. Affordable housing next to market-rate units, parks and green roofs, space for small local businesses and startups. The lobby screens now flashed sweeping drone views of neighborhoods that had once struggled, now transformed into lively districts. Where Whitmore Developments had created exclusive islands of wealth, my projects had built connections and prosperity for entire communities. But the money it takes, Judith stammered, searching for footing. The Whitmore fortune is all tied up in Charles's companies. I never used the Whitmore fortune, I said evenly. I found people who believed in my vision. Investors who understood real estate is more than concrete and glass. It's about building communities. At that moment, Luis returned, this time escorting an elderly gentleman whose presence turned heads the moment he entered. "Miss Lane," Luis said, his voice full of respect. Mr. Ashcroft insisted on offering his congratulations personally. Ethan's jaw fell open. The Ashcrofts were Chicago's old money royalty, names his endless social climbing had never touched. "Harper, my dear." Edward Ashcroft extended his hand with a warm smile. "The city's future is in good hands." "I think it's time we tell them about the foundation, don't you think?" Edward Ashcroft said, glancing toward me with a twinkle in his eye. I nodded, giving a quick signal to Luis. Instantly, the enormous lobby screens shifted, filling with vivid images and video clips of the Lane Community Foundation's work. Scholarships for underprivileged students, affordable housing complexes rising in neglected neighborhoods, grants for local small businesses and startups. "You see," I said, turning to face my stunned family, "while you were chasing social status and gala invitations, I was trying to create real change. Every property we acquire includes affordable housing, every development has space for local businesses, and every project prioritizes sustainability and community well-being. This will ruin you," my father said gruffly, as though clinging to an old argument. "The market can't support all this idealism." "Actually," Edward interjected smoothly, "Lane Holdings' returns are currently the highest in the regional market. Turns out, doing good is very good business." On cue, the screens flickered to a slide of financial charts, record-breaking occupancy rates, unprecedented tenant retention figures, and profit margins that left traditional developers in the dust. "The Hudson Tower deal," I continued, "isn't just about buying more property. It's about transforming those spaces into something better. Solar panels on every roof, rooftop gardens, community workshops, job training programs for local residents." My phone buzzed again, another alert flashing across the screen. Mayor's office requesting meeting regarding citywide expansion of Innovation District Initiative. The speed of the transformation was even outpacing my own expectations. "What happens now?" Ethan asked quietly, the arrogance finally drained from his voice. "Now?" I smiled, pulling up a fresh set of plans on the screens. "Now, we change everything. Every building becomes energy efficient. Every development serves its neighborhood. Every project generates opportunities, not just profits." Judith shifted uneasily, her instinct for preserving social standing flaring. "Perhaps we should discuss all this privately, as a family." I turned to her coolly. "Like when you banned me from events because I embarrassed you? When you told the Ashcrofts I was unbalanced because I suggested affordable housing in luxury high-rises?" Charles exhaled shakily. "I was wrong," he said, voice thick. "About all of it. Your mother, she always said you saw the world differently. She taught me that true success isn't measured in square footage or sale prices," I said. "It's measured in lives improved, communities strengthened, futures made brighter." Outside, the glow of Chicago's streets spread below us. People were heading home, to buildings I owned. But unlike my father's tenants, mine lived in places built for connection, not just profit. "Tomorrow," I declared, raising my chin, "Lane Holdings launches our boldest project yet, transforming every single property we own into a model of sustainable urban living. Solar power, green rooftops, Community hubs. Everything you all said was impossible. If you've ever been underestimated or told your dreams were impossible, know you're not alone. Share your thoughts or drop me a message below. Tell me how you're building your own path. Let's prove together that true success isn't status, it's impact. And never stop building something bigger than they imagined. The maitre d' recognized me the moment my family walked into Maison Belle, the most exclusive French restaurant in downtown Chicago. His expression flickered with recognition, but he maintained perfect composure. "Good evening," my sister Bianca said with her usual air of entitlement. "Reservation for Riviera, party of 4. I lingered behind them, watching my parents and sister perform their well-rehearsed display, checking the lighting in their designer sunglasses, adjusting their Rolexes, laughing just loudly enough to draw attention. They hadn't wanted to invite me to this birthday dinner. I only got the message 2 hours before. But appearances mattered, and they couldn't risk anyone asking why Elena Rivera, the eldest daughter, wasn't at her father's 65th. "This way, please," the maitre d' said, guiding us across the marble floor. I caught subtle nods from the staff, quick, discreet, but unmistakable. Bianca eyed my navy shift dress with obvious disdain. "Surprised you didn't show up in one of your clearance rack gems," she murmured. "Some of us prioritize substance